This Instagram reel says, if time froze at school for 30 minutes, what you doing? Skull emoji, crying emoji. Then shows a comment where Fortnite man says, then turn on the heater. To which I jokingly commented, nah, this wouldn't happen, time can't freeze, adding on to the joke. To which this motherfucker said, that's why it's called a hypothetical, bro. To which I said, enjoy your downvote, kid. I wish I could tear that little kid's DNA apart, strand by strand. I reported the fuck out of that reply. Humanoids like this must be studied in a lab and experimented on for science. This is something that makes me uniquely pissed off. It just strikes a specific chord, and it happens a lot. Although I can't stand people who just don't get the most obvious jokes, there are other contenders for the most annoying thing. Mouth breathers and people who generally breathe loud as fuck. Many mouth breathers don't even know that they're mouth breathers, but I'll tell you, I be smelling their hot ass rank ass breath every time. Most of the times the smell ain't even the bad part though. If you've ever had to take a test or exam in a small quiet room and had some big bolden motherfucker right behind you sounding like he's got a golf ball in each of his nostrils, and you know what I mean. These be the types of people where when you ask them for a pencil, they just give you that microplastic stare. LMAO, I saw TS clip. She finna clocked his T. These people must be exterminated at all costs.
Switch it down, nephew.
Get them back out of the gene pool. Get them up out of here. How does it even get this bad? You'd think if you saw a word that you've never seen before, you'd look it up to see what it meant, not just make up its definition and go crazy. Now, most of that example was AAVE. That's different from slang. But my point is that people using slang wrong is easily one of the worst things you can ever bear witness to. The first time I ever saw the word "gyat" typed out, I was like, what? Then thought about it for a second, pieced together the context of the text being under a top 10 hottest Fortnite skins video that was recommended to me, and remembered how when people see a big booty, they say, "God damn." So tell me why a couple of days after that, I start seeing white people saying gyat as a noun. Boy, oh boy, you've got a gyat on you. Speaking of gyats, next up is vocal fries. And while I know vocal fries are a generally hated thing, it's most definitely not hated enough. There are seriously people walking around here mixed with the general public who have a vocal fry. And that fact hits particularly hard for me because up until last year, I literally did not know that there were people who actually talked in that stereotypical white girl California accent. I deadass thought it was a joke that cartoons made up. I'll never forget when, after I drove 5 hours to a totally different part of my state to school, I was walking up a staircase and heard two groups of white girls with that exact accent. I couldn't fucking believe it. And I forgot to add this to the script, but you know what type of accent I'm talking about, right? The like white girl California accent. Oh my gosh, Becky, like that shit, type shit, bruh. Let's move on. Alright, I really shouldn't have done that, but anyway, on that day, I felt a mix of emotions I've never felt before. I felt a mix of bewilderment, shock, and I was trying so hard not to laugh. The messed up part about vocal fries is that some people literally just talk like that. It's not like chewing with your mouth open where you can just like not do it. I'm not really quite sure what it is about vocal fries that just gets me. The most logical explanation I can think of is that I only discovered that vocal fries are real after watching years upon years of cartoons where the annoying character has a vocal fry. But I also feel like it's just a primarily annoying sound to me, if that makes sense. Alright, originally in my scripts, this next part was gonna be my first talking point before I realized how wild of a fucking intro it would be. Aiden Ross's, look, there I go. Aiden Ross's dumbass fuck-ass name spelt wrong. This for real pisses me off so bad for no reason. It is the first thing I typed in this script. It's the ultimate rage bait. Why isn't there a Y or an I or anything? There's just a random disconnect where there should be a vowel. It says Aiden. Bro's parents spelled his own name wrong. I'm dead. This point takes me back to when I was in elementary to middle school, and the most common name back in that generation was some variation in spelling of the name Aiden. And I'd collect these motherfuckers with that name like Pokemon cards because every Aiden I knew, they were all spelled differently. Like, I seriously would make a mental list back then of every Aiden I knew that was spelled differently. I don't know why I did that. Here's a list in editing of all I can remember. Looking back on it, that trend was actually pretty cool, like of just naming your kid a different variation of Aiden. I prefer it a lot over every parent just spamming the same couple names now. I'm someone who has a unique first name, and almost everywhere I go, the doctors, teachers, dentists, eye doctors, doesn't matter. Everyone always assumes that my first name is my last name and vice versa, because they assume that the list is wrong since my first name is a typical last name and my last name is a typical first name. Anyways, Aiden Ross's dumbass fuck ass name is spelt wrong.
We're good, bro. You can go.
Number 6, even though I haven't been counting, is closed-minded people, especially those that just deny things, like the type that just use the nuh-uh method. Look, here's another reel, and yes, I know, I do get recommended pictures of LeBron's kawaii feet, and you're welcome for sharing. This is what the GOAT's feet look like after years of playing professional basketball. It ain't basketball, it's the shoes. Basketball would also be a factor in it though. Sure, buddy, just keep thinking that. Sure, buddy, sure. Yeah, sure, buddy. Additionally, this strategy clearly falls under the schizophrenic conspiracy theorist move kit. I mean, it's like the first ability you learn after being born, the nuh-uh strategy. You seriously cannot say shit to these folks. You say gravity makes the earth round, they say, nah, gravity ain't real, bruh. You ask why shit's falling then, and they say, I don't know, we're just moving up probably. A slightly more advanced version of this technique is used by oil and gas companies to make people not care about climate change. Listen. First, they influence people to think that climate change ain't real by funding climate change denial and telling the media to just say nuh-uh. Then they shifted the responsibility onto individuals by literally starting the term litterbug, look it up. And now they admit it's real but are influencing media to say that it's too late to do anything anyway. You say the earth's warming up, they say nah, it just does that. Shout out to Hendrix for reacting to my last video on his channel and for being a goat. If Batman ever stared at me like that, my mouth would have just started salivating to—
Hey, okay, okay, bro.
Definitely go hit up this young boy's YouTube page, this little boy's YouTube page, link in description. Here's my day one. If you likey this video, go air out all of my engagement options, shoot up my channel, and slime the subscribe button.